going down? Got some people in here, man. Shout out to everybody that made it to the webinar, man. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Hope y'all get some good tips and tricks, and then some good use out that template, because I've been using that template for a long time, like some years, and it's been modified over years. So hope y'all get y'all's mileage out of it, so I get to create a new one. Where's everybody checking in from? I see my boy Solos in there. Nando. E-Rock's behind me. He in the chat too, though. Andrew, what's up, everybody? So I'm just gonna give a couple more minutes to let people get in real quick. I just posted a link on Facebook and Instagram in my story. But yeah, if they didn't sign up for the webinar, they didn't get the template. So everybody here, shout out for once again signing up, and then if the people who didn't get the template, they just get to watch. What up, Bryce? Naptown, that's what's up. Second Ward in the building, Third Ward in the building. Yeah, cool, man. Show. Let's get to it. So basically, like, the workflow, I feel like is like really important, because a lot of times you're setting the vibe for the whole session. So if you're like in there fumbling, trying to figure out the key of the song, trying to figure out the tempo of the song, trying to make recording tracks, and the artist is like trying to just jump in the studio, and the more time you got. Damn, my bad. Okay, so what I was saying, so basically with workflow, I feel like it's really, really important as an engineer to kind of be fast and be on your feet when you're starting a session, because a lot of times, like, the vibe can be ruined by somebody trying to figure out the key of the song, trying to find the tempo. So having a template and having it set the same every time, so you're not trying to look for your favorite plugins, your reverbs, delays, all that stuff, is really important. So one of the first things I want to talk about is just like, having a simple template. I see sometimes people have templates, there's like 20, 30 different sends of reverbs and delays that you're probably not even going to use, or different buses with like 20, 30 audio tracks which you might not use. So what I like to do is, I still have some of those things available. If you actually look on the left side of my screen here in Pro Tools, Pro Tools. So on my template in Pro Tools, there's this little arrow down in the bottom left, and you can actually have tracks hidden and inactive. So that's what I do. If I have like an R&B track or something like that and I need a lot of vocals, I have all these tracks that are already actually created and going to sends and buses. But just when I pull up my normal session, I have them hidden on the side, so it's not taking up my CPU. Y'all getting everything cool with the sound and everything? So that's one of the things I want to stress, is just having a simple template to get started with. Another thing is being able to find the tempo really easily, because some of these producers, they don't tag the beat with what the tempo is, what the key is. So it's definitely up to the engineers to find that out. So when you're trying to copy choruses, or you want the delays to be in time and stuff like that, you definitely want to have the capability to find the tempo. So if you're not sure how to get the tempo, what I do is, the first thing I do is make sure the tab to transient is on. So that's this thing up here in the left of the screen on Pro Tools. My bad. So up here on the left of the screen in Pro Tools, there's like a little waveform in the top left. And when you select that button, when you hit tab, it's gonna go to the start of like the kicks and the snares and stuff like that. So what I usually do is just like to find the beginning of the loop. So I'll click right before the click, right before the kick, to that kick, bam, and it's not working. There you go. So start of the loop right there. And then right before the end of the 4 bars, I don't know why it's not working. I think I compressed my beat too much, that's why. But so basically you get a 4-bar loop. 2, 3, 4, or a 2-bar loop in this case. Then you hit event, beat detective, and you set the range from 1 to 1 to 3 to 1, or 1 to 1 and 5 to 1, depending on how long your loop is. And when you hit generate, you need to make sure you have this little man conductor dude on right here. And then when you hit generate, it's gonna put the tempo right there. So in this case, it's 75.51, which I'll just round it to 75.5. So that's how you get the tempo. For getting the key of the song, I do it manually, but there's a couple plugins that are out there. One of them is mixed in key. One of them is also called auto key, and auto key is made by Antares. If you downloaded the template, I left a PDF file in there, and it had some of the links that you can go to get some of these plugins. But so on this one, like if you want to find the key with auto key, it's really dope. This Antares one, I think it's $50 or $49 or something like that. But so this one, you can basically put it on the track where the beat is and let it kind of analyze it. Boom, you got the key. And then depending on what version of auto-tune you have, it'll actually sync up with the auto-tunes in the session. I don't really use this one too much, this auto-tune artist, but that's one of the ones that I actually sync up with it. So let me see this auto-tune artist. If you go back to this auto key, and you send it to the auto-tune, it'll automatically set it. And then what I like to do, I'm gonna actually double check the key of the song, because sometimes, especially if it's a sampler or something like that, sometimes it won't read it correctly. So I know how to find the scale of the song, so that's how I find the key. So F sharp minor, that's the key, which the first time it said A flat major, but F sharp minor, that's the key. So, all right, that's one of the cheat codes. So you got the tempo, you got the key, right? Another thing that I did the piano app. Okay, so let's get to the next cheat code. So, like I was saying, having go-to plugins, right? There's like so many different brands of plugins and different manufacturers and stuff. It can get like kind of crazy just trying to like buy and try out all these different ones. But for the most part, there's like a lot of the EQs do the same thing. A lot of the compressors do the same thing. It's just kind of finding the ones that you're comfortable with and learning how to use them, and then just applying that knowledge to, you know, the other plugins that do the same thing. Like for instance, like this SSL channel strip. There's a version from UAD. There's a version from Brainworks. There's a version from SSL itself. And I prefer to use this one, but I've used the other ones, but they pretty much operate the same. So, you know, if you don't have that one, there's a lot of other options. The ones that I put in my template tend to be a lot of the Slate Digital plugins, because they're really easy to save presets and manipulate. And so I highly recommend those. I think it's maybe like $15 a month to just try them out. But they're really solid, and they give you everything. They give you EQs, compressors, reverbs, all kinds of stuff like that. So for the basic plugins, that's one thing, you know, having EQs and compressors. But the other thing is like to have knowledge of certain plugins that are going to give the vibe. So when you have an artist and they want a telephone vocal or something like that, like having something that you already know that you can generate that effect, just pulling it up with a preset is definitely gonna help you. And plus having it in, like I have it in my template. This is one of the ones I use a lot. This CLA effects. I use the CLA vocals sometimes. It's funny. I know I've seen Jason Joshua and Mike Dean going back and forth about the CLA vocals, but I like to use this CLA effects. And when you use this telephone part, it has like a really harsh, really thin telephone sound. But if you alternate between the other two, they're like a little fuller. And kind of like more easy to understand what you're saying when you're speaking through them. So sometimes I might put it on like one of the other settings and then add an EQ or something after it. But other things for vibes, like, reverb plugins. So I have like, if I know somebody wants like a really wet kind of reverby kind of sound, the long type of really immaculate sounding reverbs that I like is like Eventide has this one called Black Hole that's really dope. And then I also like this one from Native Instruments called ROM. And these are ones that are like really, really wet, like they have really long times. Like I forgot what the time actually goes to, but it's something crazy. It's not like, see, this one has like a 53 second 100 seconds, so we don't need that. But and then just like for basic reverbs, a lot of times I'm using the Deverb, or Valhalla is really dope too. Valhalla is really cheap too. A lot of people use Valhalla. It's a really crisp sounding reverb and a really dark sounding reverb depending how you use it. And when I was in LA with Jason Joshua, I was watching him and Mike Seberg work when we were doing some stuff on Ashton Travis's project, and they were using the Valhalla a lot, and I used it too, but I wasn't using it as much. So now I kind of like to go between the Valhalla stuff, still just like the classic, Deverb, and the Eventide stuff that I showed you. What else we got? Another thing that is really dope. I don't know, a lot of people, I don't see them using like the newer version of Pro Tools, and I feel like you're really missing out if you're not using like something after like Pro Tools 12. Like if you're still stuck on Pro Tools 10, there's like a lot of stuff you're missing out that you're definitely not getting. So,
You said it's on the blue screen.
oh, yeah. So basically, when I'm talking about having track and plugin presets, one of the features that's in the newer version of Pro Tools is I can actually, it's behind. So basically, I want to talk about plugin presets. So one of the functions that you have in the newest version of Pro Tools 2021 or anything after Pro Tools 2020 is you can actually save a preset of a whole track. So if it's something like this vocal bus and I have all these plugins on it, I can actually right click and I can save it as a track preset. And I've actually done this. So a lot of the artists I work with, if I hit recall, I can actually go through and I can find like a Paul Wall lead vocal. And then when I click it, it's gonna pull up all the plugins that I had for that particular song. Or same thing if I want like let me see who else I got in here. I probably got Bash or somebody in here. Certain artists, I got Bizzle. I do a lot of mixing for Bizzle. This is Bizzle's lead vocal chain right here. So I know, what strength of auto-tune he wants. It's something I can just pull up really fast. So having track presets, and then within the actual plugins too, saving presets, I do that a lot. And I have, same thing, I have like a lot of artists in here, different settings. And sometimes it might not be perfect right off the bat, but it's gonna be like a starting point to where I already know I like that compressor on the artist, I like that EQ on the artist, And even like on my vocal, when I'm tracking my vocals, we have the Slate Digital, what's it called? The Slate VMS. So I actually have like settings that are gonna have the mics in it for the VMS. And then so I don't know if you guys have used that before. It's pretty dope. What up, Gio? Y'all, am I moving too fast or how am I doing? Show me some love, give me some comments if I'm giving y'all some game. So that's another thing, having the track presets, having the hidden tracks. Like, so if I want to pull up 10 vocal tracks, they're already ready to go. Like I said, I can just boom, right click, and then show it, make them active. What else did I want to talk about? Let me see. Let me show this one real quick. My bad. So the next thing is let me take some Q&A. Like before I get to the third cheat code. We've only been doing this for about what is this, like 17 minutes. I'm interested in some of the questions that you guys have, especially if you had a chance to download the template and actually work with it.
iMIX certified.
What's like some questions that you guys have about plugins or about software or hardware, anything? What's up, Box? Pro Tools 12, yep. So Pro Tools 12, it has, I don't think it has track presets. Another thing that's really dope in the newest version of Pro Tools, say if I'm, if I have a track out beat or something like that, and it's like 20 tracks, and I don't really need to look at it, I can actually create a folder track. So, they have audio tracks, auxiliary tracks, master faders, whatever. Now they actually have folders. So I can take all these tracks and put it inside a folder. And then when I close it, it's gonna clear up all the real estate that I had on the screen. Damn, y'all didn't even see that, did you? Okay. So what I was saying is like you can actually create folder tracks up in just where, the normal audio tracks and stuff are. You can make a basic folder and then you can grab all the tracks and actually stick them in the folder, and then you don't have to look at them. You can just like have a fresh screen for like more tracks or whatever. So that's one of the advantages of having like the newer version of Pro Tools. I highly recommend. It's only like, I think it's like maybe $30 a month or something for the membership, but I think you can get it for $300 for the whole year. Slate, yeah, bro, Slate is hard. I love it because Slate, you can start adding different elements to your chain, and it doesn't slow up the computer. Like if some of the plugins, they take up a lot of CPU. Track preset, yeah, bro. Yeah, solos. I know you use Reason. You're trying to transition over to Pro Tools, so Pro Tools got some little stuff that makes it way easier to edit audio and stuff like that. In place of virtual mix rack in the template. So on the virtual mix rack, really, I don't even probably need it. Like what I really use on that one is I'm using the 1176. So I know Pro Tools has a free one, the BF76, I believe. So I like to use this as like the first track in my, the first plugin on my chain. And I'm just kind of like taking down the transients. Like I'm not really compressing a lot with it, but one advantage of having the Slate version is it has a mix knob, so I can compress the crap out of it, and then I can dial back the mix on it so it's not 100%. So that's why I use this one. I also like the Waves, the CL76, but it's the same thing. It doesn't have like a dry wet knob. That's another thing that's dope. All the compressors on the Slate Digital plugins, whether it's the Distressor, the LA2A, I think they all have the dry wet knobs. Like if I was to look on these other ones. Yep, this is like the LA2A clone. Same thing. It's got has a mix knob. This is like their, I don't know. You know what this is supposed to emulate? Like a Fairchild or something? Maybe? Not Fairchild. I don't know what this one's supposed to emulate, but this one has a dry wet, and it actually has 2 different circuits. So just like the different amount of compressors that they have in here alone is worth getting it, because if you're trying to buy these plugins one by one, they could get really expensive. What's up, DJ? Multi-band compression. So this is one of the things I was going to go into a little more detail in the masterclass, right? So there's 2 different types of EQs, right? You have your basic EQ, which I'll just pull up the Pro Tools one here. So you have like your Pro Tools EQ, or I'm sorry, a Waves EQ. And if I want to, raise or take out a frequency, it's basically, it doesn't move. It's if you make it go down 3 dBs at a certain frequency, it's going to be gone, right? But what I like to use is dynamic EQs, which is a type of multi-band compression. So on these dynamic EQs, I think I've even showed you this before. I think when we were at Wire Road, I showed it to you. But I like using these because I can, say if I want to take the same frequency out, 300, it's going to EQ it, but it almost works like a compressor too. So whenever the vocal or the instrument or whatever isn't hitting that frequency, it's going to be left alone. And then you can actually control the amount of the EQ, like what's the max range you want to go, and then you can set it like a compressor with attack and release, which is really dope. When recording, compress or EQ first. Let's see. So on our chain, right now I think we're just using a Ventec, which is a Neve 1073 clone, and I think it has like a shelving EQ, but we really don't take away some of the S's, because like the more you compress stuff, you're gonna hear more breaths, you're gonna hear more S's and stuff like that. How to mix the beat so it doesn't bleed through the vocals. So one really dope use of this this F6, right? So a lot of times I'll put it on my beat, right? And then whenever I have the vocal playing, I can set it to where whenever the vocal plays, it'll push down certain frequencies in the beat. So I use that with like doing a side chain, which it's YouTube it, but you can side chain like certain frequencies of the music, or like say if you got a guitar and a vocal, you can make the guitar volume go down in certain, if the vocal's like, making it duck. So that's what I do. If like a lot of times dealing with these 2-track beats, if the beat is like too mid-range heavy and then it feels like the vocals like lost in there, I'll EQ the beat or like do some kind of side chaining like that. Order operation as far as plug-in placements. Man, I always put auto-tune first, because I see sometimes people will put like a CLA vocal and then they'll put auto-tune after, but the auto-tune is not really going to be able to do anything because it has like delays and reverbs and stuff on it. So usually I want my auto-tune first in the chain. So I don't know if you saw in the template, I think on the record track I had it first, and then I had it going into my EQ after. Going after EQ is not too bad, but I definitely wouldn't put auto-tune ever after like a reverb or a delay. Textbook usually is EQ and then compress. So another thing I'll do too is like I might start with a chain to where I have a compressor first and then I have some EQs, but sometimes I'll switch the order, which is really dope on the slates because you get different sounds depending on the order that you put it. So I mean, textbook, it depends, like, because to me it's like whatever sounds best, because that's really what I'm after. I when I was going to school back in the day, they used to say never put a reverb as an insert and always have it as a send, so you can add like a little bit of reverb as you want. But like in the trends that are going on right now, a lot of the vocals are really wet, like especially on ad-libs and stuff like that. So that kind of all went out the window. So I'll put like a Valhalla reverb on an ad-lib track as an insert because I want it to sound really wet and drowned out. So Do I record with plugins on? Yes. So in the template on the record track, I'll usually have auto tune, and I'll have like some kind of EQ or compressor. Usually I'm using the slate because of the mic that we have. So I'll have like the slate, a gate, and then just like some light compression and EQ. But one thing why a lot of people like to record with me is because when they're recording, it almost sounds like their vocals mixed. Like it's gonna have some reverb, some delay, some EQ, some compression, and then when they walk out, it's already sounding pretty close to what it might sound like when it's mixed. Because I have people, and people will complain to me. They're like, "Man, I went to this studio and they didn't have no reverb, they didn't have no EQ. Like it sounded real dry." Because people want to be inspired when they hear something. Like they want their vocals to sound like the radio or some shit like that. So, I highly recommend. I don't record the effects to the track. I just have them monitoring through it so they can hear it. Isotope will destroy your CPU. What's the best way to attack gluing a vocal to a track in a 2-track mix? All right, so let's get into the last part, which some people are kind of asking. So now it's kind of like talking about mastering, right? So everybody's asking about mastering. I don't really consider myself a mastering engineer, but I feel like I'm pretty confident about mastering stuff that I mix, because really I'm trying to make a louder, maybe wider version of what my mix is, versus like sometimes I'll send it to a mastering house and they might completely change it, make it brighter, make it more bass or less bass. So I kind of like do like the same type of chain on my mastering. So I have a couple quick chains that I use. Some of the plugins that I could just slap one plugin on it, because sometimes when people, they just do like a mixtape track or something like that, they're not really trying to have it mixed at that point, and they're really trying to get to the next song. A lot of times I'll pull up this Slate Digital FGX, and this one, my boy Steve-O put me on this one back in the day. Who put you on that one? DJ Rhino?
Mike Dean.
Oh, Mike Dean. Okay, so Dean. I did see him post this a few times, but sometimes he'll just use the metering in it or something, right?
Yeah, he definitely still uses it.
Yeah, I love the FGX. I put this on pretty much every mix I do, and I don't really use the compressor too much, so sometimes I'll just turn it off. But I like to use the transient stuff that they have in here and the dynamic perception. So if you're not trying to pull up 8 plugins on the mastering chain and you just want it to sound louder, this one I highly recommend. It's really transparent. But like for me, when I'm mastering stuff, instead of putting like 1 or 2 plugins and using them heavily, I like to use like 4 to 8 plugins, and I'm doing like filtering with one plugin. I'm doing a little bit of compression with another one. So I use this UAD. Brainworks also has this too. I use this as the first mastering plugin in my chain, and then from there I go to like a bus compressor. And lately I've been using this T-Rex version of the SSL 4000, and the reason why I like this one is because it has a sidechain high pass filter in it. If you don't know what that is, if you on a regular compressor, it's going to compress like based on the loudest signal, which is usually the bass. So what this one actually does is it lets the bass pass through based on the frequency that you put on here, and it's going to like not every time the kick hits, it ain't going to just reduce the volume. So I like to use this T-Rex one for right now. Then I use a couple parallel EQs is what they're called. So parallel EQ is kind of like if I was to make a copy of the whole song and apply some extreme processing, like make it really bright or really bass heavy, and then blending it in with the signal of the original mix. So I use this UAD maximizer. It kind of does that based on a 1-band or a 3-band option. And then I use this clairphonic, which is really, really dope. This is like the sauce on like a lot of my mixes, where it has like a really bright and crispy top end. And this one, Google it or YouTube it, because they have a hardware unit too, but I love this one. This one has mid-side options, and depending on, it doesn't have like an actual frequency, but it's like, it's talking about presence, shimmer, silk, sheen, in terms of like, it's kind of makes you more use your ears. So let me see, I'm gonna put it on here just so I can kind of hear what it does. I'm not really playing a lot of audio. Let me turn the mic off for a second. So yeah, that one, oh wait, did I do it backwards? The mic is muted. There we go, okay. Yeah, so it's really subtle, but a lot of times I'll turn it way up and then just kind of dial it back. Let me see. If you're dealing with a beat that hasn't been quantized by the producer, do you quantize it in Pro Tools? Man, it depends. It depends if I know the producer or if the artist is asking me to do it, because sometimes on mixes, like, I used to not do this, but sometimes I'll actually change the kick drum or the 808, or maybe add a snare, depending if I really think it needs it, or if the artist is requesting me to do it. And then some producers I know pretty well, and they don't mind me doing it, but that's really like additional production too. That's not really even just mixing. So I don't do it for everybody, but sometimes if I feel like it has to have it, I will. But quantization, shoot, I feel like I've had to quantize more rappers than quantizing the beat, because some of these boys be rapping early than a mug. But yeah, so I don't know if y'all listen to that style of music, but when they're just like rapping ahead of the beat, it drives me crazy. Let me see. Isotope, man. Share again at some point. Okay, I talked about some of the mastering. Let's see. Put reverb on sends. Yeah, so I talk about that definitely. Parallel EQ for mastering. Yeah, it's definitely a little cheat code. And then so this is actually in my template, right? But it's one of the hidden tracks like I was talking about before. But I have these groups that, after I'm like finished recording and stuff like that, I start to assign stuff to these groups. Like I send stuff to drums, to music, to vocals, background vocals, and then I have all my effects. So by the time I'm at the end of the mix, if I want to do specific processing on just the lead vocals or just the music or just the drums, I'm able to do that. And then the parallel drum is, a lot of times I'm doing and just blending it in, and I'm compressing the crap out of it, like with this Slate digital compressor. Do I use a lot of mid-side? It depends. Like, so the EQ that I was showing on my master bus, this one I'm actually doing a little bit of mid-side. So what I'm doing on this, I'm filtering out some of the low end. I don't know, usually I filter it like around 30, but that's just so I can have like a little bit more headroom and get the mix a little bit louder. Because a lot of times it's kind of like people can't really hear, or the systems can't pick up something that low. So it's just kind of muddying up stuff, and you can't really get a lot of volume. And then what I do on the side, if you look at the stereo section, a lot of times I'm filtering out some of the sides a little bit more. So like maybe even up to 100. And then another thing that's dope about this EQ, Steve-O actually put me on this EQ. It has this mono maker, and you can set it to make your low end like more mono. So sometimes I'll do this like depending on the bass sound of the track. And some of these other options I haven't really used as much, but it has like some width control and some of this other stuff. But I use it for like those 2 or 3 specific things, and then I like to use the other plugins, to do other things. Like I said, I don't want to just throw 1 or 2 plugins and have them doing all the work. Let me see, mastering the same template or separate. So it's crazy. This is my home computer. So on this computer, I'm actually able to do most of my sessions at 64 samples. I have 32 gigs of RAM in it. And the only time I'll have to bump up my RAM is if I have like a full mastering chain on here. So this Mac is like 32 gigs of RAM. It's like one of the last i7s that they made that I could still upgrade the RAM myself. And I'm interested in getting an M1 Mac Mini, but I'm just kind of waiting for everything to catch up for the software and stuff like that with the compatibility. But yeah, as much as I can, I like to master in the same session. So it just depends if my computer can handle it. Sometimes I'll have to bounce out the mix and then make a separate session to do the mastering. So it just kind of depends. But if you got a beast of a computer, you can do it all in one. One of the last things I want to show you guys is what I use. Wait, I still got a couple things. One more thing, 2 more things. Okay. So another thing I like to do when I am mastering stuff is I like to use this plugin called Adapter AB. I think I showed it to y'all maybe on my Instagram or something like that. But this is really like a dope cheat code, and I started using it last year, and I wish I would have found it like 5 years ago. But what this allows you to do is you can have your session mix playing, and then you can load up like 24 different songs, right? That you can reference A and B, A being them together, right? So let me pull a song in here real quick. I'm gonna pull in something that I've already mastered, maybe that hasn't came out, so it doesn't copyright flag my stream. Let me pull in something. I'm just gonna play a clip of something too, because for somebody gets mad at me. Oh, I'm pulling up Pro Tools, so I'm gonna show y'all something. Let me see. Let me see something that already maybe came out, maybe didn't come out. Let me see. Let me play one of these Baby Bash songs that I produced. So I'm gonna play this song called Crystal Blue Skies that came out, and then actually this isn't the final master. James Hoover actually mastered it, but I had to get like a quick radio edit to a DJ. They were trying to spin it in Colorado. So I was like, let me do it. I don't think we have time to send it to the mastering engineer. So I'm actually going to have this song playing whenever the screen is blue. Whenever this button is blue, it's going to play what's in my session, right? Big Third, what up, brother? So check this out. So I'm going to play the Crystal Blue Sky song.
Like crystal blue sky. Cut the coupe, walk around. My vibe. Like cool little bitch. Better think twice, man. I pass by, they be counting. Yeah, just be with you and only you. Crystal. Say love, I wanna make love. Got 'em feeling.
But you see what I'm doing? Like, I'm going back and forth between these songs that are mastered. I actually got them off iTunes, right? And I have it set to every time I click the button, it starts where I set the cue point, which is usually at the beginning of like the loudest part of the song. So some of these are playing like at the chorus or where the bass drops, and then I'm just kind of playing it along with this version of the song too. So.
Yeah, just be with you. Like crystal blue sky. Always feel like I'm giving up. Feeling my vibe. Fuck the world, I'm gonna play get cool in a bitch. Now pass by.
In addition to that, like just using your ears, like, is it brighter? Is the snare louder? Is the vocal loud enough? Is it too much bass? I'm also using it to gauge the loudness. So a lot of times I'm trying to hit somewhere around -8 LUFS. So this one actually will give you the readout too.
Like crystal blue skies, top down women. Cut the coupe.
So if you watch
Walker
this,
roof is missing. Ice, lemonade, my neck was dripping. Cool in a bitch, better think twice, my shooter in the VIP. 10th grade. Top down women, got 'em feeling my.
So that's my third little cheat code right there. But so for the beginning engineers or people trying to record yourself, really think about using a template. It's going to simplify stuff from you to where it's not going to sound just like raw vocals, right? Hold on, let me go back to my screen. Okay, yeah. So for the beginning engineers, like having the tempo, the key of the song, and a simple template, it'll save you tons of time, and then it'll make you. People are going to think you've been doing it for a long time. If you pull out a template and it's got them sounding like money as soon as they walk out the booth. And then for like the more advanced engineers, I feel like the cheat codes that I gave, like if you're still using Pro Tools 10, like really, I think you should step your game up and get to the newer stuff because it can save you a lot of time and headaches. And then like the little mastering thing, that's something that it takes a long time to like kind of know what to use and how to use it, because you can always turn something up and make it louder, but sometimes the louder you make something, the harsher it gets, and it can really screw up a mix. So whenever my client has a budget, we'll send it off for mastering to like Sing Mastering, or in town we'll send it to James Hoover or Chris Longwood. But when I'm just doing it myself, and a lot of people, they don't have the budget to send it out, then I'll just kind of like use what I've learned over the past 20 years to get the volume and the width and like the kind of EQ and stuff that I want out of the song. So basically, those are my three cheat codes. How long did we do this? Let me see. We've been on here for how long? Let me see. But let me go back to here. And if you're not following me on Instagram, YouTube, make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications. As much as I can, I'm gonna try to do this more in the future. But for right now, I'm basically doing this webinar, and I have a masterclass coming in that's gonna be like an in-person thing. So July 10th and 11th, I'm doing a masterclass at iMIX, and I'm only taking 5 people on Saturday and 5 people on Sunday. But if you thought you got some game here, imagine being in here for 6 hours, because I'm gonna go through more stuff than I did, and kind of in more depth and in more detail, and then kind of customize it depending on who's gonna show up for the masterclass. Also, if you go to brucebang.com, there's a pop-up, and if you enter your email, it'll give you $100 off to sign up for the masterclass. So, and during the masterclass, I'm actually gonna pull up sessions from the past that I've mixed for like Paul Wall, DJ Chose, DJ EXO, Jay Renee, Ari Lennox, and kind of show you what I did in certain songs. Just to kind of show you some of the stuff I talked about. I'm actually going to show you how I used those things in action. Like, because right now, it's weird. I can't play some of the songs because they're going to copyright flag me. So I didn't really get any songs that are unreleased to play. But I hope y'all learned a lot. And, thanks again for tuning in. I'm going to leave the video up probably for a couple days. And then, see y'all soon, hopefully.
What day was the masterclass?
Masterclass is July 10th and 11th at iMIX. And it's going to be from noon to 6 p.m. And then you can sign up by going to the link in my bio on Instagram or brucebang.com. There is an events page, and it'll have the day 1 and the day 2 option. I've had some people already book for July 10th, so there's still some slots available. But I'll be kind of like giving away some like more tips and tricks and stuff like the next 2 weeks leading up to that class. So just stay tuned, turn on your notifications and stuff, and I'll see y'all soon. Appreciate it, Dre. Appreciate it, Bryce. Appreciate it, Nando. Yes, sir. Got to give the game, man. I'm trying to do it for my legacy now. So appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Where's my thing at? Hold up, baby. Where's my deals at? Where's my scenes?
Stopped it.
No, I did not. Hold on. Where's my...
The outro.
Yeah, I was going to put my outro. Screw my outro, I guess. All right, I'll catch y'all later.